One of the biggest questions you might have if you're new to online business is, what will my niche be? What is the topic that I'm going to talk about, to eventually make content about, sell courses about, build a membership site around? What is my unique area of expertise, my topic, my niche? In this video, I'm going to give you all the tools, all the steps that you need to make that decision, because it is a big deal. If you pick the wrong topic, something that isn't profitable, can't make money off of it, or you're not the best to teach on it, or you're not good at it, or whatever, it can be very, very sad. Also, the other mistake people make when it comes to their niche is they either go way too broad, or there is a such thing as going way too narrow. That's a problem. But the more common thing is that people go way too broad. We'll talk about how to avoid that. And then the other thing that we're going to tackle in this is when you have too many ideas. And I'm going to tell you a story about someone that I'm working with right now that has a lot of ideas. I'm going to tell you what I told him in terms of how to sift through those ideas. So this is going to be a great video if you are trying to decide what your niche will be. Now, if you already have a niche and you're already kind of down the road, this still will be good for you because it will help you to sharpen the clarification of what your niche is. You'll be able to say, I think it needs to be this, and I'm not sure. If you're in that kind of state, this video will help. So my name's Lane. This is a series that I'm doing where I'm walking through 6 steps to build your business, 6 steps to get started in your business. And this is actually pulled straight from my guide, the Super Simple Guide to Starting a Thriving Online Business. If you don't have that guide yet, go to lanesebring.com/supersimple. I did an overview video of the entire thing. You can check it out right up there if you missed it. This is going to be diving into step 1, and then next week we'll do step 2 and so on. But if you want this in a nice little PDF that you can carry around with you and read through and have it all there for you, lanesebring.com/supersimple. Determine your niche. Now, I'm looking over here. What I'm looking at is the guide. I'm looking at the PDF guide, the Super Simple Guide. So if you see me looking off to the side, that's what I'm looking at. We're going to walk through step 1, determine your niche. So there's a topic that you'd love to talk about. It's what people already come to you to learn about. So I want to start here that your niche is not usually going to be something that is completely unknown to the people around you. It should be something that when you come out with it, the people who know you best go, oh yeah, yeah, of course you're teaching on fitness because you live for healthy lifestyle and fitness. Of course you're talking about cooking because you love to cook, or you love to cook, you love to bake sourdough bread. So of course you're going to build a business around that. Or of course you're going to talk about gardening because you're always outside. Or gosh, of course you're going to talk about marketing because that's what you live to do. You love to help people with marketing. Whatever the case is, it should not be a surprise to the people who know you best. And it also shouldn't be a surprise to you. This is why we don't pull topics out of thin air if we want them to work. So there's a topic that you already love to talk about. There's a topic that you already love to share about, to talk about, to people ask you questions about it. You'll be sharing a lot about this topic online, so make sure it's a topic you love to talk about. So one of the things I like to quote is Justin Welsh. He says that instead of trying to determine a niche, you want to embrace an obsession. So I use the language determine your niche or choose your niche, and that's what we're doing. But really what we're doing is we're embracing an obsession. We are already obsessed with something, and we're just embracing that obsession. So I talk a lot about my first online business, Preaching Donkey, where I help pastors preach with confidence and clarity. When I first started that, it was really an embracing of an obsession. I was fresh out of seminary. I had done my undergrad degree in communication at a state school in Oklahoma, where I learned how to connect and communicate with human beings. And then I went to seminary, which is like a master's degree program for pastors, and I learned how to bore everyone with the Bible, and that was called preaching, okay? And so I started to become very frustrated with the way we were taught to preach in seminary because it really wasn't effective. Like, I would see people who preached really well, and I would go, they're not doing what we were taught to do. Like, what we were taught to do in seminary was so stilted and clinical that it would make our seminary professors proud because it was a technically good sermon, but it wasn't that. Like, it wasn't effective. It didn't reach out and grab me and pull me in. It didn't help me in any way. I didn't know what I was listening to, and I couldn't do anything with it when I left. So I started to become obsessed with how to become a better communicator myself, which led me to be obsessed with how to help other people be better at communicating, and particularly in that context as a preacher. So that was born out of an obsession. I loved to talk about it. And so I didn't say, oh, I wonder what my niche is going to be, because I didn't use that language back then, didn't know much about online business. I just said, I am obsessed with this topic. I'm going to start blogging about it. Gosh, my nose is itchy. You ever have an itchy nose? Ugh, sorry about that. Okay, the other business is this, my online business, the Lane Sebring, gosh, I'm sorry. I'm really trying not to touch my nose, but geez, if you have a remedy for this, let me know, because it's like every time I sit down to make a video, my nose starts itching and it drives me nuts. Okay, so my personal brand, the business brand, I started talking about business all the time to anyone who would listen to me. Not because I wanted to make a business out of this, but because Preaching Donkey was making money. And I was like, this is incredible. I can talk about something that I love to talk about. I can embrace this obsession, and I can talk to people online about how to preach better, and I can make money from that. Started out with writing books, and then I made courses, and then did coaching, and then made a membership site, and then did more coaching, and it became a thing. And I was like, I'm making money talking about a subject online, and it's scalable, and it's passive, and in terms of there's a disproportionate result from the work I do is fixed, but the returns from that work they're disproportionate and scalable and unlimited. I was like, this is incredible. And so I started talking to anyone and everyone who would listen, like, hey, if you have a skill, a talent, an expertise, a set of experiences, some kind of unique knowledge, you can take that online and help people with it and make money. Like, this is the best. So again, I was obsessed, and I still am. I never lost that. So when I started talking about business online, it just came out of an obsession with this idea that, like, wow, everybody I meet, I'm like, oh, you seem really interested in XYZ thing. You can make money online teaching people how to do that, because there's people who want to know what you know, people who are just getting started who would love to know how to do what you do. Why don't you talk about that? So again, embrace an obsession. Don't try to invent something that you need to be interested in. Now, let me talk to the person who would say, if you're like, well, I'm not really obsessed with anything, I'm not, it's not how I'm made. It's not how I'm wired. You don't have to necessarily be obsessed. You just need to be interested enough and like that topic enough to know that for the next 1, 2, 5 years, you're going to be able to talk about it every week consistently for months and years at a time without getting tired of it. And if the answer to that isn't an emphatic yes, I won't get tired of this, then look for something else, because you will get sick of it. I know this because when I first started this brand, I didn't think I was qualified yet to talk about business, even though that was my obsession. I was like, I'm going to talk about books, because I had written and self-published 2 books, one of which was a number one I was going to say number one New York Times bestseller. It was not. It was a number one bestseller in its category on Amazon, which the standards for that are a little less than the New York Times. But nonetheless, I had success in my own little, way. The book sold, and it still sells to this day. Like, it's a success in the sense that for my business, it helped me get started. It still serves a lot of people. I still get emails to this day of people saying, hey, that book helps me write sermons and feel better about my skills. And I mean, it still helps people. So I decided I'm going to start a business where I'm helping people write and publish books. Here's the problem. I realized very quickly that I didn't really enjoy talking about books all the time. Like, there's things about writing and self-publishing, technical things that are always changing, things that you got to look into, like the way Amazon structures their system. And I got bored with it, like, fast. Like, I got to where I was like, I just don't like this. Now, if you take online business, where I'm talking about Kajabi, how the software works, the new things that they're rolling out, making courses, developing content, making membership sites, monetization strategies. That's a world that I could sit and talk about for hours, because I do, and I love it, and I'm not tired of it yet, and I don't plan on being tired of it. So even though books is something that I did, And books are something that I had success at. Like I wrote the books, published the books, formatted the books, uploaded the books, audiobook, ebook, paperback book, and they sold and they sold and they sold. I still didn't care enough about it to just talk about that all the time. I talk about books sometimes, but not all the time. So again, all I'm trying to say is make sure that it's something that you like enough that you're going to be able to talk about it for a while. Now, I'm going to give you some questions to help you decide. What particular hobby or interest is unique to you? Now, this is a hard question to answer because we don't always know. We don't always know that something is unique to us because we think that everybody has the same experiences we do. There's something called the curse of knowledge. And this is the idea that the more you know about something, the harder it is for you to remember what it's like to not know that thing. Okay? So think about like you probably know how to tie your shoes, I'm guessing. Like that's probably a skill that you learned at some point when you were a child. But it's not till you have kids that you realize that some people don't know how to tie their shoes. Because when you're working with your child on how to tie their shoes and they're messing it up, you're like, oh yeah, like I now remember what it was like to not know this thing. Or like riding a bike. If you've ridden a bike, you know how to ride a bike, but until you ride a bike, you don't know how to ride a bike. So when you're trying to teach a child how to ride a bike, you have to remember like, oh, this is what it's like. I have to sit on here and get momentum going or it's going to fall over. And I have to keep that momentum going by turning the pedals. And it's all awkward and weird until I figure it out. And my muscle memory takes over and my brain takes over and I just learn how to ride a bike. Again, curse of knowledge is that because we know a thing, it's very hard for us to remember or even relate to people who don't know that thing. So when I ask what hobby or interest is unique to you, you have to really ask the people around you. You have to say, hey, what would you say that I do better than most people? What is a topic that I know more about than most people? What is something that if you think about me, this is the thing, this knowledge, this skill, this expertise, this opinion, whatever, that sets me apart from other people. What topic could you talk about for hours? So we talked about this already, right? It has to be something that you both know enough about and care enough about to talk about it for hours and not get bored with it. What do people come to you about for advice, right? So do people come to you and say, hey, I need help with my marriage? And you have a really strong marriage and you seem to like be a natural at it or you work hard at it. And so I want your advice. Or, man, you're a great parent and you seem to really be in the mix with your kids. Could you help me with my parenting? Or, gosh, your lawn is weed free. Like, it's incredible. How do I get weeds out of my lawn? Or, wow, like you've got an incredible physique for a man over 50. And I'm a man over 50. Well, not yet. I'm 39, but I'm getting there. How do I get the physique that you get, right? What do people already come to you and ask for advice about? And all this is connected, right? Because it's a particular hobby or interest that's unique to you. People recognize that. It's something that you talk about a lot. People recognize that. Because it's something that you talk about a lot and that you're good at, people come to you and ask for advice about, right? It's all connected. What valuable skill could you easily teach others about? So now we're getting into like valuable skill, right? What is something that you do that you know how to do? Whether it's a hard skill or a soft skill. Hard skill like, woodworking, soft skill like parenting. They're both skills. They're both things that you have to know how to do. Nobody is born with just knowledge. What is the valuable skill that you could easily teach others about? It's easy for me to teach other people about preaching. It's easy for me to teach other people about online business. And here's the thing. It's easier now than it ever was because I have more experience doing it and more experience teaching it. But when I got started, all I had was the experiences I already had, and I was a little further along than the people I was teaching, and that was all I needed. And so let's say that you're good with your finances, and people come to you and they're like, hey, I'm kind of bored with Dave Ramsey. Can you help me, right? Because you seem to be on it. Can you help me with like financial planning or debt reduction or whatever? Well, you don't have to be Dave Ramsey level. You can just be for those people what they need. And because you're for those people what they need, they get helped. And now you're a little bit better at helping people because you helped them. And this grows and grows and grows. You see how that works? What do you know about more than most? right? So again, this goes back to that kind of unique knowledge, skill, hobby, interest, knowledge. What do you know that most people don't know? So those are some questions that will get you started. I want to give you a few pointers if you're having trouble narrowing it down. Here's an exercise I want you to do. If you're trying to decide between 2 or 3 different niches, make a list of potential content ideas for each niche and ask yourself which ideas come easily, which ideas are you most excited about, and what would you get bored of easily. Narrow it down and pick one. Remember, you can always adjust your niche as you learn more about what your audience responds to. So there's a lot here I want to go through. Number one, if you're trying to decide between 2 or 3 niches, I was talking to someone just yesterday who has a desire to start an online business, right? Kind of wants to escape the 9-to-5 grind, wants to dive into the world of online business. And this person has a lot of skills and abilities, great communicator, and has a lot of interest and a lot of varied interest. Some of these things could work. In fact, any one of the ideas that he has could work. And one of the things I told him is I said, if you want to stand out, you need to become known for something, one thing. And so what I encouraged him to do was to say, I know you're interested in idea A, idea B, and idea C. And if you're not trying to make money, again, if this is literally just a hobby, you want to make content about it so that you can, have the content out there in the world and maybe help somebody, then that's great. Do all 3. Do 2 ideas, do 3 ideas, whatever. But if you want this to be a business that will get to 6 figures and beyond, you have to focus. You live in a finite world with limited time, limited resources, limited attention span, and you cannot, and I cannot simply just do it all. You just can't, especially at first, especially when you don't have the system set up and the experiences set up. You don't have all the time in the world to do it all. You're probably still working a job. There's a lot of challenges against you. So not only do you not have the time because you live in a finite world, but everybody else, right? Your potential audience, they got to know who you are and why they should follow you. And they are sifting through all the different ideas of everybody that's out there. So let's say that you talk about parenting and you want to talk about parenting as your thing, but you also are interested in gardening. So you want to talk about gardening. I'm not sure I don't know why parenting and gardening are my examples today, but like you're parenting and you're gardening and you also are into helping people with their fitness. Okay. 3 very different niches. And by the way, even if they were similar, right? Even if it was parenting and marriage, they're still different. And the point I want to make is that you have to decide, for right now, am I going to be the parenting guy or am I going to be the gardening guy? And those are very different. Or you have to say, am I going to be the parenting of teens guy or the parenting of young kids guy? Or am I going to be the marriage guy to help newlyweds, or am I going to be the post-divorced marriage guy for second marriages? You get the idea. Like, you have to get very, very narrow. And the reason why is because you're competing with everybody else who talks about that. And you're competing with everybody else who's been doing this for a lot longer, has a bigger audience, already has established credibility and authority in this space. So you have to do things to set yourself apart. And one of those things is narrowing down your niche. So you have to focus your efforts on the things that make the most headway for you. So take those 2 or 3 different ideas and make a list of potential content ideas for each. So let's just take this idea of, let's say that it's parenting and marriage, and you're trying to decide between that. Like, you're interested in both, and these are very similar, but they are different. So you make a list of parenting. If I were to start a parenting brand, what would I do? Okay, well, helping people with discipline, helping people with boundaries, helping people with empowering their kids, helping people with, their kids' friendships, whatever. Marriage, right? Communication, in-laws, intimacy, right? So I'm making a list of potential content ideas. And I'm not just doing one-word content ideas. I'm like, I want you to write down, like, what would the video be about? What would the post be about? And look at both of those lists and ask yourself, what ideas come easily? Like, which ideas are just burning off the page? And which ideas not as much? Which idea are you kind of having to pull more out of yourself to get it to come together? Which ideas are you most excited about, right? You look at both of these lists and you say, man, this parenting thing or this helping other dads thing, this is where it's at. Like, that's what I want to do. But you know, the marriage thing, like, I don't know, it doesn't seem focused. I'm not as excited about it. I mean, I could do it, but I'm not as excited about it. Those are all important questions. And what would you get bored of easily? What would you say, you know, it's kind of like laying with books, you know? It's like, yeah, I mean, I could do it. I've got some experience in it. But to be honest, like after 4 or 5 pieces of content about it, I'd probably be pretty bored with it. Don't do that one, okay? And do the thing that makes you the most excited. Do the thing that gives you that thrill and that makes you dream with possibility. Narrow it down and pick one. I cannot stress this enough. Pick one thing. And remember, you can always adjust your niche later on. Now, I want to mention, if you get the super simple guide, when you get that guide, there's a little bonus in there called Your Niche is Right Under Your Nose. How to uncover your profitable business idea. That's a workshop that I built. And so when you get that, you'll see how to get it. It's all free. The super simple guide is free. Niche is Right Under Your Nose is free. Get all that, and that will take what we did here and set it en fuego, which means on fire, I think. Can't wait to see you next week. Let me know in the comments, what is your niche and how did you arrive at your niche? Or if you're still trying to decide, what are you trying to decide? Which niches are in competition with each other? And maybe we can help you work it out in the comments below. LaneSebring.com/supersimple. See you in the next video.